So we're going to talk about, myths. I don't want to say lies. That sounds kind of strong, right? These are lies. Misinformation about the afterlife. And there's just a lot of it. There's just a lot of it. And if you, like me, start to have contact through the veil, you're going to bump up against that and realize, like, wait a minute, I thought my loved one wasn't emotional, because that's what my medium told me, that when we cross over, we drop that and we're not emotional, right? We don't feel deeply. And to be honest with you, I didn't know that either. I was surprised at how emotional Alan was, because he wasn't emotional when he was in a body. Like, he was so shut down. So I was like, oh my God, like, why are you so like emotional? Like, you get really like, was crying about when I got an asthma attack, which I've spoken about. It wasn't a bad one, but it was enough that he was freaking out and was all emotional and worried and wringing his hands. And my friend Swati saw him pacing the floor. And I was on my computer messaging her, and she was telling me what he was doing. And I said, what? He's crying? And she said, yeah, he's really upset. And I said, oh my goodness, like, I'm okay. And she was getting worried too. And I said, I'm okay. Like, would you tell him I'm okay? And she goes, well, he's really concerned. And he later told me what he wanted me to do. Like, he wanted me to call up the telehealth thing, because that it was during COVID. So I couldn't go into the doctor. So, and she goes, he's saying you've got to call the doctor. I said, I will, I promise. And the whole next day, he was really all worried. And it's what he told me. He goes, so he's really worried. He's really upset. And I was just shocked, like, really? And plus although I was a little bit trouble with my breathing, I knew it wasn't bad. I knew myself enough to know that, all right, I got to get in a new inhaler because I couldn't find mine, but I wasn't really stressed out, but he was really stressed out. And, when she said to him, but Alan, if Pam dies, that she just comes back to you. Like, why are you freaking out? And he said, you don't understand. Like, if she dies and returns to me, she's going to be so upset that she failed in our mission. So it was both like, he's upset, not worried about me that I'm going to die, but worried that, well, she's going to be upset that she doesn't get to finish her job. So he's now saying, he says he was concerned about me, on a physical level, because he knew that, he didn't want me to ever suffer anything. They don't, but I didn't expect that. And then again, nobody told me necessarily that, oh, when they cross over, they don't have an emotion. I just didn't know what to expect. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that he'd be so emotional. And I also didn't expect that he would encourage me. In fact, in a way, he's putting the word manipulate, just jokingly. He really nudged me to become more emotional, like he is. Okay, because I wasn't like that. And maybe some of you are not like that. And when I mean emotional, I don't mean like out of control. I mean emotional, right? I don't mean like you're just like, yeah, you're over the top, like you're, he said, like bipolar, right? Going mood swings. He says, not that, meaning that emotional in the sense that you feel deeply, that you're moved to tears when something, you see something that is, he says, deserves being moved to tears. Something like a beautiful sunrise, or even things like a photo of, I remember, I think I talked about this in the group a couple of weeks ago, about seeing on Father's Day a photo of Bruce Willis, who has dementia, like Alan had, and he's holding his granddaughter, and I could feel the connection, I could feel the love, and I just started crying. And I said, I'm not a fan of Bruce Willis. I'm not even like, why am I so emotional? And he says, because you feel deeply, and they feel deeply. And I've often seen him kind of with tears in his eyes and been surprised, like, oh, you're getting emotional right now. And it's not anything to worry about. He says, on the higher realms, they feel emotion deeply. They're high level empaths, more empathic than anybody in a body. Okay. And he's saying he wants everyone to know that. And it doesn't mean that they're lost in their emotions, that they get, let's say, consumed with sadness, like some people in a body can, or, they don't get stuck, is what he's saying. They let the emotions flow through them. And that's what it's meant to happen, that you feel feeling moved, feeling sad, feeling happy, joyful, and you let it move through you. You don't hang on to it. You don't get stuck. You just let it move through you, because that's how it's meant to be. So when he told me that the higher realms, they were so emotional, and at the time I was talking to my friend Swati, and I said, well, he's saying this, that they're really emotional, the higher realms. Did you know that? Because she has spoken to the angels for years. Like, she talks to Archangel Michael all the time, very close connection with the angelic realm. And she started to laugh, and she says, that's so funny. Archangel Michael told me that too. He said that the archangels in the angelic realm are very emotional. And I thought he was kidding because he used to tease her a lot. He still does. And so she just said, oh, you're just kidding. That's impossible. Like, no way. So she just thought, you're just kidding again. So when Alan said that to her, she goes, oh, okay, that's true then. Like, I get it. They're high level empaths. Okay, like, makes sense. So yeah, so they feel deeply. Okay. And that's why they can sort of live vicariously through us. So many of you have said you felt your loved one wanting their favorite food. Like, maybe you never drank coffee, but all of a sudden you feel like, I feel like they want coffee, and I'll brew a cup of coffee for them, and I won't drink it, but the smell of it, the cup will be there and they'll be happy. Well, that's real. Okay. Like, so many times Alan has asked me to, could you, on my birthday, I'd like you to eat usually steak. This year, he says he wants pasta. I said, okay. So they enjoy it through us. Yes, they can eat whatever they want on the other side. They can manifest it like that, whatever. But he says it's not the same. And some of you have told me the same thing. They say, yeah, my loved one said it's not the same. And they enjoy it when we're consuming their favorite meal, food, beverage, whatever, right? So that's a real thing. I mean, and they do that, he says, because they're so empathic, they can experience that with us. And he says it's just a wonderful way to share life with us. And I think you understand why that makes sense, right? So let's put that one aside. They're emotional. And mediums don't understand it. I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying some of them don't understand that. So they'll tell you they don't feel like we feel. He said, no, we feel more deeply. And when they return to us, he's saying the sign that you are more blending and connecting is that you will discover that you are more emotional, that you feel deeply. Okay. Again, you're not going to get stuck in it. You won't at all. And even when you get sad or get, like teary-eyed or whatever, you're not going to necessarily be upset about that or afraid about that. You might, in fact, be like me and just say, oh, this is just part of living. Like when we watch a movie, and in almost every movie, well, not everyone, but most movies, there's sadness, there's tears, and then there's joy. There's the ups and the downs, isn't there? Otherwise, it's a rather boring movie. If all there is happy, 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 like, where's the conflict? Where's the overcoming an obstacle? So he says, we want those highs and the lows. We just don't want to stay mired in the lows. Okay. And when you're grieving, it's easy to get stuck because you believe that they're gone. And that belief is going to, of course, bring you down and keep you down if you have the repetitive thought that, well, they're dead. They're dead. I'm never going to see them again. Or do they still love me? Like, are they on the other side and now they don't need me? All these questions that people have. So we want to address some of those too. Okay, because it's not unusual for people to wonder if their loved one still feels the same way. Like, do they still love me? Do they still want to be with me? And he said, he's telling, I see Alan jumping up and going, yes, like, yes. Whoever loved you when they were in a body with you here, they love you still. That doesn't ever change. He says they cannot stop loving us. Impossible. Impossible. So, put that aside, and you cannot ever keep them back, okay, from being on the other side. Now, that would be their trying. Okay, let me kind of clarify that, because there are earthbound spirits, people that pass and then stay. Okay, so that happens. And no, we don't want to encourage that at all. And the reason that happens is that the person might have died unexpectedly and they don't know they're dead. Children who pass suddenly, or they might not know they're dead, like any soul, they might not know that they're dead. So they're kind of like walking around or literally like trying to get our attention and saying, why don't you see me? And even though they have support, loved ones, guides, angels coming to help them to cross, that if they don't want to, there's no way to force them because they're free will. So it's honored. So they remain here, but there's every effort made to try to coax them to transition, right? And that's why sometimes they will gravitate toward people who have a lot of light in them. Like some of you, Ellen was saying, some of you understand that. Some of you, especially mediums, so they'll know who's a natural medium, even if that person doesn't themselves know that they're a medium. They'll see that, and they'll be drawn. So in some what part of them is knowing that, well, that's the way home, but maybe they're not ready to. But okay, we're not talking about your loved ones necessarily being earthbound, right? We're talking about that they've crossed over and they can return. But again, mediums don't all understand that. So when someone tells them, yes, I have this ongoing relationship with my partner, and I heard this from some of you've told me, that the medium said to you, well, your husband, your wife is earthbound. Like, that's not good. You need to let them go. You're keeping them stuck. And that's not the case. I mean, no, it's not the case with the people that I spoke to, one of them in our group, but they will tell you that because that's their belief. Okay. Alice saying nobody would really understand this unless they went through it themselves, even the medium, or they knew somebody that went through it and witnessed it and understand, oh, this is a real thing. I get it. Okay. So this means all of you've got to be really discerning about who you seek out for a reading, because you will not know whether they believe this or not. And so I don't want to see you have a reading, pay money for that, and then have your hopes deflated because the medium tells you it's impossible what you're experiencing, right? Because they're wrong. And that's just the way it is. We are just here to tell you, I went through my whole journey with him, not knowing, well, what would happen, because I never thought that Alan would come back and not just say, hi, I'm not dead, but say, I'm here to stay. I go, what? You're here to stay? What, is that possible? All right. And I didn't know that. So our book is all about that, all about what happened along the way. And it wasn't an easy journey. And it's amazing now, but we're going on 3 years next month. We're almost at that 3-year mark since his passing. So the first 2 years, and 1.5, 2 years were the roughest. And lately it's been extraordinary. I mean, nothing short of extraordinary. I don't know what it feels like to miss him anymore. I really don't. I've searched for the feeling and can't find it. So I believe that it's possible for everyone to get to that place when you have by then built up these enough experiences and new memories of this new relationship. It takes time, obviously, but when you do that, it becomes like this a way of life that you just appreciate for what it is. Yes, we always miss them, but there it's something. He's saying it literally is out of this world that you have someone who loves you with all their heart and soul unconditionally, can heal you of things. Some of you have told me that. And he's saying now he's teaching them how to be more powerful healers, okay, because he's a healer himself. And so you have everything you had from them when they were in a body except their body. He says everything, showing me everything in capital letters. You can have everything and more except a physical body. And you will come to know, if you stay the course with this, you will come to know in your heart, not just believe, but know that this is real, right? Without a doubt. Nobody will talk you out of it. And you'll know that this is the most amazing journey. And in its own way is even more spectacular than what you had when you were together, because it's taking you on a spiritual journey of ascension and awakening. It can change your whole life. You're going to be a different person in the best definition of that. Okay. You're going to be more than you thought you were. Okay. That takes time though. That takes time. And that's why we realized we had to coach people. Like we had to have that available to them so that they would have the support ongoing, because this is a lifelong unfolding. Yes, you'll reach certain benchmarks where you say, okay, I really know you're here, and I see the evidence, irrefutable. I feel you, I hear you, I even see you clairvoyantly. Maybe in the beginning, it's a little, off and on, but it's there and it will deepen. And you know that this is a real relationship. Okay. So it takes time, but don't ever let a medium tell you that you have to let them go. They don't understand that the soul, that you and I right now, and they, of course, on the other side, we're all multidimensional beings. That idea, that concept has only recently been in the collective consciousness with the the discovery of quantum physics, where we understand that there are many other realities and that we collapse the wave into certain realities. So there are multiple timelines, and we are multiple beings. So you are existing in the spirit world right now, the greater part of you, and you're expressing only a tiny portion of yourself into this body right now that's here listening to me, but you express another part of yourself in other realities. And when you return to the side, you just go back to that. But if you can do that, if you can express yourself in these different realities, different bodies, different timelines, what do you think they can do when they're limitless and they don't have a body? Alan said from the very beginning, he says, I can be with 1 million people and be with you. If you read our book, he was talking to Gina, the medium, who was worried because she felt she was taking him away from me. He was spending all this time with her and talking to her, hanging out with her. And because she's British, they had a lot in common. So he was enjoying his little holiday in Sydney, Australia, talking with her. And she was like, but aren't I taking away from Pam? Like, I feel bad. And he says, no. He says, you see your husband over there sitting on the sofa? She goes, yeah. Well, you and I are here by the dining table, but you can see him, right? She goes, yeah. He says, well, it's kind of like that with me and Pam. I'm with her and and I'm still know what's happening. I'm still there with her. I can be everywhere. So if he can do that, what do you think your loved ones can do? They all can do that. So how can we really hold them back from anything? We can't. Like I said earlier, the only possible kick up with that is if they're earthbound, and because some souls, they just don't want to go. They are just very almost addicted to the earth plane, or for whatever reason say, I'm not leaving you. I just can't stand it to be away from you, which isn't healthy, because they could go and come back and still be with you. But they don't necessarily understand that, while they're in that in-between place. So that's not a good thing. And we want to encourage them and support them to transition. But in the end, we're not really in control of that, because if they're that determined, then they're going to remain. And therein is a problem, because if a soul has become earthbound and they're stuck here and they're going to be with you, right? Let's just say you're not going to be a happy camper. Like, you're going to feel their depression because they still have their lower, like, emotions, meaning that, yeah, they're emotional, but like any human would be emotional, and they still have their ego because they haven't dropped it. They're in that in-between place. So they haven't gone through a healing that happens when you cross over. So they still have fear. They're still them. And so they can't really benefit from being on the other side, but they can't really fully be with us either. And therefore, usually, Alan says about 90% of the time, they are depressed. And if they're hanging around you, you're going to be depressed. And everyone around you in the household is going to be depressed. This is not a good thing for anybody. And I've seen that with at least one or two people, where their partner refused to leave, and he was depressed in a bad way. She was really depressed in a bad way, had physical issues. Like, he can't help her. Like, if they're earthbound, they can't help heal. Yeah, Alan says even worse, because if the person was in a body, because we're all healers, like, they could help because we're all healers. But if they're in between, it's like, well, I can't really heal because I'm not in that body anymore, but I can't really heal from this higher place because I'm not on the other side. So they really are kind of completely handicapped and only can do, he says, barely anything. And they're depressed. And again, not all of them. He says it would have to be, here's the irony, okay? If that spirit was more evolved, they could be here, earthbound, and not be depressed. But then if they were in that higher place of state of mind, they wouldn't be here. They'd say, oh, I could do more because I'm on the other side. So they would like leave. That's why he said most of them who stayed don't know any better. They are just not aware, or they says they're really stubborn. They just don't want to let go. And some souls, just even after their loved ones die, like their wife dies maybe, and their children all die, they still don't want to go. Like, I've heard stories of that too. They still want to stay. They still want to stay here. They're just not ready. He says that they might have fallen in love with somebody else that was in a body. Now they're following that person around. There's all kinds of stories, okay? But I don't want you to worry about that. Just know that if you suspect your loved one hasn't crossed over, you could tell, because you're probably going to feel really, not just your grief, this is an extra heaviness. It's like something else is wrong, really wrong. And yeah, you need to help them clear, okay, like help them move through, because then they can come back. But they don't all know that. But we're not talking about earthbound souls. But that's why you need to be prepared that some mediums might tell you that your loved one hasn't crossed over. And Alan says you'd be surprised how many of them think that. Now, I don't want you to take what I'm about to say here as that I'm bashing mediums. Okay, because other people, when I've said this before, somebody said, why are you so negative about mediums? You should be positive and supportive. And I said, it's not about that. It's about telling the truth. The truth is the truth, is the truth. We're not trying to be negative, but sometimes telling the truth sounds negative because, well, it's the truth. So the thing is, that mediums are only human. They're not enlightened beings. Please, please, please don't think that. Some people out there that are psychics, and not anybody really that I know that I've met, or then I don't think is in this group for sure, are just egotistical. They're sociopaths, they're narcissists, they're across the board, they're just human. So they're not necessarily looking after the best interest of everybody or even their clients. Humans are self-serving. They're here to take care of themselves first. I get it. And then actually that's how it's supposed to be. But you have to understand that mediums have corner on this market, on spirit communication. And I wrote it in a post, just like the church. We're the gatekeepers. If you want to talk to God, you have to come to church. If you talk to him yourself, you're going to burn and go to hell. Like, you can't do that. You have to come to us. You have to put money in the collection plate in order to talk to God. Get it? Like, why do you think that started? It wasn't Jesus's idea to take Christianity in the direction it went. he wanted it to be, open. He had a whole other idea. And so, and I was saying most other founders of religions were the same way. It's just that the people who came after them co-opted it for power. And I think all of us understand that. And I'm not trying again to bash mediums, but they want to have the corner on the market. And so we are coming along telling you, you can have your own connection and can develop it. And by the way, we're not the only mediums telling you that. There are others who are more, those are the ones who are more enlightened and see the bigger picture, that they should be encouraging their clients to become their own mediums. But then that medium who's doing that knows how to teach them. And Alan says most of the other mediums don't know how to teach. So they're not going to tell you that because there's no benefit in that to them. But because they want you to see them as the sole expert and authority and the one that you turn to when you want to communicate. Okay. But you'll know a medium is more genuinely concerned about you and is more enlightened about this if they tell you, no, you're hearing that. You do hear her or see her, and you can do this. I encourage you to do that. Go and trust that. If they're saying that to you, that's a positive sign. If they're telling you that, no, you can't do this, no, it's wrong, or you're going to get in trouble or something, then you want to just pick yourself up and walk away because that's not true. They're either ignorant, Alan says that's possible, they're just either well-meaning and ignorant because they're just telling you what they were taught. That's all they're doing, passing on what they were taught. And he says, in the quote, old days, whatever he means, that old day, that was what they're taught. What we just said, that you have to let them go and you have to be living in the 3D world. Like you can't be trying to live for them. And I have concerns about that too, because yes, if you're, let's say, a parent who's trying to hang on to their child, that in the end too long, can be to your mutual detriment. And your child in spirit might even say, Mom, Dad, I'll always be with you and I'll come whenever you need me, but you got to live here. You got to live your life. I'm not your partner. It's different when it is a partner, when you're a partner or a spouse and that person on the other side is your other half. Okay. That's different. You can live for that person like you were doing so when they were in a body with you. But that's different than a child parent, right? I think we all agree that parents are not supposed to live for their children. We are all here to have a partner if that's what we've chosen. And Alan says most souls do, because the energy of the universe, something about there's a male-female energy, and it has nothing to do with sexuality, nothing to do with, being homosexual or not. I mean, it's just this male-female energy polarity that is required for creation. So there's usually people or couples. Okay, so we're their person, as we like to say, right? So your child in the afterlife will have their person. You here in this life will have yours if you've chosen in this lifetime to have a partner and indeed have one. But that person would be the one that you live for, the one that you talk to constantly or every day, the one that you check in with at night or that you connect with physically, right? It's not going to be, of course, your child. And so that relationship is different. And I'm not saying that a partner relationship is superior. I want to be really clear. That's not what I'm saying. You have to look at what is the purpose of the relationships. What is the purpose? That's all it is. It comes down to that. All those relationships are divine and sacred and special and unique. There's no better or lesser. It's just, what is the purpose? Is everybody clear on that? What is the purpose of the relationship? That's all. He says, that's it. What is the goal in this relationship? It doesn't mean the parent-child relationship is less important. He said he's showing me equal. Everything's equal, but it's unique. The relationship is unique. So that he says, okay, that's our rant about that. That you have to take what a medium tells you about the afterlife with a grain of salt. I think this information that we're sharing he's saying that at some point it's going to go more mainstream. And I guess we're here to disrupt the mediumship industry. Oh God. That's what he kind of told me that in the beginning, early days. He said, you do know, so your worst critics, if people are going to come after you, are the mediums. And I said, why? Like, why wouldn't they celebrate that people are being able to reunite with their loved ones? And he says, because they've had this all to themselves, and now you're setting people free and saying you can have contact yourself. But the thing they don't get, and if they're watching this later on YouTube or something, I want them to know, is we'll still need mediums. All of us will still need someone who can connect to the spirit world authentically. Okay, that's a whole other story, but who are really tuned in, because we want confirmation, and we may not have that in our, in our circle of, in our life, right? The friend, like a lot of you don't have friends or family who even accept this, let alone somebody who could just tell you, like I have in my life, tell you, oh yeah, Alan said this and this. Like my son, like he talks to his dad. Like, how funny is it that last week when my son called me up and said, hey, you want to go for lunch since I didn't get to see you on Sunday? And I said, okay. And as soon as I said, okay, I thought to myself, well, wait, I have a lot of work to do. Maybe we should postpone. I didn't say it to my son, but then I heard Alan say, no, you need to have lunch with your son. You should see your son. It's important to see Taylor. And I go, okay, fine. At the same time that he asked me to have lunch with me, he later told me he heard his dad say, because Taylor started thinking, well, maybe I'm busy. Maybe I should tell mom we should do it next week or whatever. And he heard his dad say, you should see your mother. You need to see your mother. So how is he and I know that he's with us because we can feel him and he's talking like that. And so all of us can have that kind of connection. Alan says, if you guys only knew that it is not difficult, it's really just kind of getting rid of your limiting beliefs and your doubts and just giving it a chance, because the other side is getting stronger. Now, what does that mean? Okay, what does that mean? A couple of things here. I'm seeing in other groups that I'm in that people are having contact, or even people who come to me, like come to this group, are coming here because they, oh my God, I'm having this contact and I thought I was going crazy. I thought I was losing my mind. Like, for one example of a person, my husband started to make love to me he's on the other side. And I said, well, yeah, he is doing that. Like, lucky you. They're doing all kinds of things, okay? Regardless of the person's belief systems. Like, this person doesn't believe in this stuff. In another group, I read somebody's post who said that they didn't believe in life after death or any of this. They thought it was nonsense. And they started experiencing their mother and feeling this energy come over them and this love, and then feeling like this peace. And this is a person who's usually anxious. And they said, am I going crazy? Do I need to see a therapist? Because this is really weird. I don't believe in this stuff. All right, why is this happening? You're going to see more of this happening because we as a species and the planet itself is ascending. We're all ascending. Okay, what does that mean? Everything raising the vibration. Every planet goes through this in the solar system. They go through the ascension process. And that's why we're getting closer and closer to the fifth dimension, which is the next dimension. We can't be there unless we're non-physical. That's the definition, that's requirement. But it doesn't mean you can't hit the ceiling of it, because you're getting closer. And to the point where you're sort of quasi-physical, non-physical, which is why more people are becoming mediumistic. Doesn't mean they should all go out and be mediums, by the way. We really take issue with that. I think everyone is their own medium and can do that for their own family, their own personal needs. But to be a medium for the public, Alan says, is a kind of something that you're called to do, like you've agreed to do. And learning it could be an experience for that person, but genuine mediumship is actually quite rare. If somebody's really destined to be a medium, they almost can't fight it. It's like, it's just going to like open up. And I know some people, there are a few mediums in our group understand this, but Alan understood that too. He wasn't even sure he wanted to do this, and it just started to open up for him because he was a natural born medium from childhood. So we're all ascending. Everyone's becoming more sensitive. People who don't even believe in this are starting to see and feel and hear things. And some of them, because we're not going to hear from all of them, right? Some of them literally think they're crazy. So what are they doing? They're probably self-medicating, turning to drugs, alcohol, because I can't stop the voices in my head, you know, and they don't understand. You're awakening. They don't understand that. So they're shutting it down. They're trying to deal with it. They just think they're nuts, or their family thinks they're crazy because they're seeing things and knowing things and on and on. This is going to keep happening. So you're going to have contact with your loved ones. He's saying to me sooner or later. So just lean into it. Just deal with your limiting beliefs and your fears. Your fears about the afterlife will be a block. Okay, that can be inherited, like in your family lineage. There can be a lot of people that have fear about it, or they were taught by their parents that this is bad or scary or whatever. I mean, I remember as a child watching a lot of horror movies because I would stay with my grandmother that I didn't know at the time was a medium. I really didn't know. She's Japanese and I couldn't speak to her because she spoke Japanese. But I would spend a lot of weekends. I don't even know why I was the kid, she had a lot of grandkids, but I was the one quite often spending Saturday night with my grandmother who I couldn't talk to. And she'd watch these, in Hawaii, they call them, Japanese, they call them obaki movies. They're like horror movies, like of the dead. And I'd watch these movies and I just go, la-di-da, like it never scared me. I don't know why. It didn't scare me at all. I would just think they were kind of quirky. And I'd watch those and I never sensed spirit around me, even though I know now that I was always, you know, had this ability. And that I found out later there was a reason. I had to be really grounded to do this work, Like I can't be, in fact, I will tell you right now that there are people in our academy where we teach that some of you guys, I know you're here watching right now, some of you guys are going to experience things before I do, because Alan showed my guides and Alan showed me, he says, you're holding the space for everybody. And I have to be really grounded because I have to run that. I have to run our business. I have to run things in the 3D world. So when I complain to my friend Swati, who has all these mystical experiences, I go, how come I never have stuff like that? Like, I'm so jealous. Like, I don't get to have stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have some amazing things happen, but not these other, these things that she has, right? And she says, because you have to run your business and you have to hold the space for everybody that comes to you. You've got, and you're balancing yourself between two worlds. So you can't really go fully over there. And then Alan said, don't worry, because you're going to get to the place where you are more over there. Not that I don't go there, but he says, but you're building it right now. So we're in the unfolding phase of that. But that's why you have to be really grounded, Pam. You have to like anchor this, because if I was as sensitive as some people that we teach, we wouldn't have a business. Like I just would be, you know, he says under a table half the time because I'd be seeing all these things and feeling all these things. So, but they are coming through, right? So you really don't have to do as much as you think, except hold positive thoughts that you can connect, deal with any resentment that you have toward your loved one on the other side that you want to connect with, because that's going to be a block. So you want to heal that. We do interdimensional couples counseling or even family counseling, if you will, because that's going to be, you know, a problem if you're still got a lot of anger, resentment. And I'm saying for some people, just remaining angry that they're dead, you know, that how could you like leave me? And being upset that they're dead, that's going to keep you stuck too. I see people in that state where they're still upset with their partner or their loved one for leaving them. And so they feel very conflicted. I want to connect with you, but I'm really pissed off that you left me. And that's a different kind of a hell, because you got to make peace with that they're not in a body and let that go. I understand that. I was in that space, but not for that long, because I realized there's no point. I have to accept what is. But if you resist and fight against the condition that exists, then you're going to tear yourself apart. and fluctuate between this joy, that's to see when you connect with your loved one, and then this anger, this resentment when you are upset that they're gone. And it's not a fun ride. Okay, I was in that state for a brief period of time, and I know the hell that is. So we have to make peace and say, you're gone. This is how it was supposed to be, because everything's happening the way it was supposed to happen. I know that's hard to accept, but it is. So once you make peace with that, say it is what it is and let go, accept what is. I don't have any anger or resentment about it. I embrace it, even if I'm struggling right now in my life because you're gone. I accept what is. Then you can build this phenomenal connection and relationship, right? But you have to make peace with it and get through that anger. That anger is just going to eat. He's saying it's going to eat you alive. It's going to undermine the relationship, and it is tearing you apart and your loved one in spirit apart too, because remember, they're high level empaths. So when we go that low and get that angry and upset, they feel it times 100. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad. I'm just telling you the truth, because that's how they feel. And they feel guilty, right? I tell all the time, let go of the guilt about what he still has only a little bit left, but because I don't have any anger, resentment anymore, not a trace. I've made peace with it, and I see this as beautiful. Do I want it to be different? Sure. I wish he was here in a body, but this is what I have. I'm going to love what I have. Can you love the life that you have? Because if you can, then this can be amazing. It can lead to a degree of joy that you may never have experienced before, even when your partner, your loved one, your parent, your child were here, because they're at this whole other level and they've got this love to deliver to you, and they want to deliver that to you. He's saying they're trying with all their might to send that to you. But if you are resisting what is, resisting the situation, it's going to be hard. Now, this doesn't mean I'm saying to you not to grieve, okay? Grief and anger are not necessarily the same thing. I mean, anger is part of the grieving process, but you can be sad, be emotional, and miss them. That's not anger, okay? And so don't repress yourself. Don't stop yourself from feeling that sadness. Like, let that through. Let yourself grieve, let yourself have the tears, and come up the other side. You'll feel better. But the anger, he says, that is usually self-generated by your thinking. You're thinking that this is unfair. Why did you have to die? Those negative thoughts that keep going around in your head. So if you're a person like that, because you keep defaulting to that. You try to be positive and you go back to, yeah, but I'm still really pissed that you're dead. Like, why didn't you take your medication, or why didn't you get therapy, or why didn't you eat better, or whatever. Why wasn't this different? Well, what it is. So complaining about, like, why couldn't it be different is not going to change anything. So know that they're with you. Know that you can have this relationship if that's what you want. Know that they're working hard on their end to come through. Alan, he really wants me to emphasize that. They're trying with all their might to come through. Our job is to stay positively focused, to let go doubt, to let go fear, to trust, take it a day at a time. Look for moments when you can just relax and tune in, and then trust what you perceive, even if you think you just got a glimmer of connection with them. I want you to milk that with every ounce of your being. Say, okay, that was you, because you're going to create more of that if you do that. That's how we create our reality, by the thoughts we think. So if you keep thinking, I can feel you, I know that. In fact, for a while I was telling Alan, okay, I know I see you, I know I see you, I know that's you, I know that's you. And I was sensing everything more vividly. So by affirming what you want, you're going to go further. But if you let your doubt come in, let your ego, physical mind start saying, well, this can't be real, you're imagining it, and on, then you're going in the other direction. where you don't want to go. Imagination really doesn't work that way. I have to say, people think it's easy to imagine this. It's not easy. You can't imagine feeling loved. Okay, you can't imagine the things that they're sending us. You really can't. You got to start paying attention and realizing there is a steady, showing me there's usually a steady stream of subtle energies, visual things that just kind of come into your mind quickly and you're dismissing it. Yeah, thoughts, ideas. So it's about really being more aware of yourself, what's going on around you, and trusting yourself. You are your own medium already, without taking a class, reading a book. You are your own medium because you have someone in the spirit world who loves you. And if you just affirm and believe that you can have contact, it will be delivered, because thoughts create. If you don't think that way, and you could take all the classes that exist in the universe and you won't get there. If you're thinking inside is, this is impossible, this is crazy, I can't do this, I'm not a medium, it won't matter. Okay, because all the class is doing is teaching your physical mind this, but your subconscious believes the opposite. So it's easy to change that. Just start affirming to your subconscious that I can hear Alan, I can see Alan, I can feel Alan, I experience him in all ways, and I know he's here, I feel him here. If I keep saying that, that just gets stronger in my reality, and the same can happen for you. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't look at the chat today. I just got on a roll here, but I hope you're okay. Everybody is. Oh, Tracy says, I hear the term way shower, one who shows the way. Oh, Pam is for sure a way shower. Yes, yes, Pam and Alan. He's saying, what about me? I'm not chopped liver. He always has to get in here. To be honest with you, I'm not that thrilled about being the way shower or the disruptor. He keeps calling it that we're the disruptors, you know. And I said, I'm not so thrilled about it. He goes, I know, honey. You rather just be like behind the scenes. I was always trying to get behind the scenes, and I was getting pushed in the front. He says, but you agreed to do this, so we agreed to do that. So yeah, so we're here to tear down the veil, and we do that by letting you know that you are your own medium, and your loved one is, he says, they're reaching for you so hard. Just reach back and trust and believe. Okay. And if you're having trouble trusting, believing, just hang out with us here in the free group. And if you really need help, then yes, join the academy, because that's going to take you over the top. And we're just getting started with all that we're going to do for you. But that's it. Okay, we got to wind down now, because we've got to get ready for our academy class. And I want to thank all of you for coming, everybody in the Facebook group. And if you're watching live, let us know what you think, below in the comments on Facebook. Or if you're watching it later, let us know. Just tell us if you have any questions too. Just drop them there. But please just understand the truth about the afterlife. You cannot hold them back. They're very emotional. They never stop loving us. And they will move on if we want to move on. Not saying that, that you should. But if they're giving you signs, that's them saying, I'm here. And even if you do go on to another relationship, because they might bring somebody to you because they know that you need somebody. Okay, it doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean they're not going to be with you when you cross over, but some of you might need a partner. So don't feel guilty or bad about that, because they know that you love them, and they know that, so what? You'll be with somebody else who'll love you. That's beautiful. That person will take care of you, and I'll see you on the other side. So if that happens to you, don't feel like you blew it or that your loved one's upset. They just want you to be happy, and they know that you will reunite. So they don't care, really. Not only they don't care, I mean, they're not upset, because he's saying to me, the bottom line is they know physical 3D life is hard, and they want us to be happy as much as possible. So whatever makes you happy is what they're going to support, no matter what. Okay, so if that happens for you, fine. And if it doesn't, and you want to continue your relationship through the veil, great. They're all on board. And Alan, I promise you, is helping them all he can. Okay. And for some of you new, you might go, really? This guy is happy helping them on the other side. But I've heard so many reports from people that, yeah, and of course, Alan's telling me that too. But yeah, that's what he's doing. Whichever way it goes for you, I want you to just understand you're here to be happy. You can be happy. Life is supposed to be good for you. You don't have to grieve and feel objectively alone. You can get over the physical, quote, loneliness. I don't feel lonely. I really don't feel lonely. Alan says I was more lonely when we were married, when he was in a body. And that's true. He was literally with me all the time because he worked from home, and so did I. And I felt lonely. I never feel lonely anymore at all. I don't know what that's like anymore. All right. So thanks, you guys. He says, yes, we're out of here. He's going to pull the plug on me in a minute, make the computer go down. He does that. So, and your loved ones could do that too, right? I know some of you say that, like, oh, they made my, phone turn off. And so he's saying, watch out, guys, because they're getting stronger because he's teaching them. Oh my God, the things that he does now, like, it's a little bit scary. Like, oh no, I tease him and say, oh, we've released the Kraken. You know that movie? Clash of the Titans, like, release the Kraken. And my son goes, no, Mom, it's supposed to be release the Allen. I said, oh no, that's even scarier. So they're getting stronger. Let's you and I get stronger and we'll meet them halfway. Does that sound like a plan? Sounds like a plan to me. Yeah. Yay. Thumbs up, everybody. Thumbs up, everybody. That's what we want. That's what we're here for. So love you guys. Have a happy 4th. Thank you for joining me. I know it's the 4th and wow, so many of you came to join me. Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled. And those who didn't, yeah, I hope you watched the replay and let us know how you liked it. Okay. We'll see. Can't wait to see you next week. All right. Bye-bye now. Lots of love to all of you.